Hi everybody, this is September 1st, 2024, and I'm making this video journal of my recovery from the trauma of watching my little brother with Down syndrome, Paul Kierans, be locked away by the BC New Democratic Party government for 588 days and then be killed by Burnaby Hospital. So part of the reason for making these videos is to leave a record in case anything happens to me of what I observed happen to my little brother. So I objected in August of 2022. I reported to the Burnaby RCMP a fraudulent and forged representation agreement that was created by my brother's group home, L'Arche, L''ARCHE, Google them. There was a SEX cult started by two SEX predators, retired naval officer Jean Vanier and his sidekick, excommunicated and defrocked Catholic priest, French Catholic priest Thomas Philippe. So my mother placed Paul in a large group home in 1993 because she thought it was a Catholic organization, but it's not. It's not at all. As I said, it was started as an SEX cult, and we didn't find that out until 2019 when Jean Vanier died. 28 women came forward, and a 1,000-page investigation was done by L'Arche itself. The police didn't investigate, but in any event, I reported this document to the Burnaby RCMP in August of 2022. And as soon as L'Arche found out, their lawyer terminated my visits with Paul. And all of Paul's bills were paid by the BC government, and the premier is David Eby. The acting premier. He appointed himself premier when John Horgan got cancer. So anyways, I complained to the Burnaby RCMP. As soon as L'Arche found out, they permanently terminated my visits with Paul. I begged every day. I wrote a letter to the BC government asking for them just to investigate my complaint. I knew why L'Arche did not want me to get a sample of Paul's signature because it was a forgery. And they didn't want him to be tested for capacity because he was too low functioning to know how to appoint a representative. He was not capable of doing that. So, as I said, as soon as I reported L'Arche to the Burnaby RCMP, L'Arche terminated my visits, and the BC government refused to meet with me because I was obviously not the representative. L'Arche appointed my 81-year-old, Catholic nun sister 4,000 kilometers away in North Bay, Ontario, as Paul's representative, and they forged his signature. Paul had no legal advice, no legal representation. They didn't even take the document, to a notary or to a lawyer. They just had their two lowest level caregivers purport to witness the document, and it's a forgery. I know because for a variety of reasons, but mostly because I taught Paul to print the only word he knows how to print, and that's his first name. So when I reported L'Arche to the BC RCMP, the RCMP officer said that she would subpoena a copy, or rather the original document. She wouldn't even take the document that I had. And as I found out later, she never did. She never did any of. She said that she would speak with the witnesses and she would subpoena the original document and have it inspected. And to my knowledge, she never did. I never heard back from her again. And for 588 days, Paul was locked away by L'Arche. I was allowed a 10-minute phone call once a week, and he begged me to visit him. He begged me to take him to a movie. He told me repeatedly, like 4 times in 2 minutes, he loved me. And I missed him so much too. It's torture. So to separate loved ones that way is a form of torture. And even Paul Bernardo, the SEX killer from St. Catharines, Ontario, was locked away in the Quebec maximum security prison. He was able to visit with his loved ones. But my little brother Paul couldn't. I'm the only surviving member from our family in the lower mainland of British Columbia. So I was allowed a 1-hour visit on December 22nd of 2023 to give Paul a gift. And he looked so desperate. This is torture. It's torture to separate loved ones. I'm one of a handful of human beings in the world that understood Paul's speech because he had speech pathology. And David Eby, acting Premier David Eby, presided. I know him very well. And he presided personally over this decision to lock away my little brother. And then I got an email from my sister's lawyer, her Vancouver lawyer. She hired 2 law firms. She's fabulously wealthy. She was given a great deal of her community, the Sisters of St. Joseph of Sault Ste. Marie, in 2520 Main Street in North Bay, Ontario, inherited huge tracts of land to run residential schools for First Nations children. And they don't do it anymore, but for some reason they've been allowed to keep all the land. So she hired 2 law firms, one in Ottawa and one in Vancouver, like top flight law firms. And I estimate she spent $350,000 at least on legal fees, which she will write off because the Sisters of St. Joseph of Sault Ste. Marie are a charitable tax-exempt organization. So while I had to borrow money and pay out of my own pocket non-tax deductible legal expenses, she didn't have to pay a dime. You're paying for it. So on April 15th, I got an email at 8:30 at night from my sister's evil lawyer. He's not even a lawyer. He's just an asshole, just a total jerk, a little twit, a little incompetent, lying twit. But he wrote me and he said, Paul had a stroke and you can arrange a visit through me. So what I did was I jumped in a cab. I was there in 30 minutes. Paul had actually had the stroke 2 days later, and they thought he was going to die, so they didn't bother to have her come. But when they could see he wasn't going to die and he was recovering, she raced out to Vancouver so that she could supervise my visits. And when I saw Paul at 8:30 or around 9 o'clock on April 15th, he grabbed my hand. He was on a ventilator. He had a catheter. He was on intravenous, but he grabbed my hand and squeezed it tight when I said, Paul, it's Kathleen. And I mean, I couldn't, he squeezed my hand so tight I couldn't get away. And it was so wonderful to see him. And I'm sure he was so happy to hear my voice. But the evil nun, I mean, nobody likes her. She's just evil. And I mean, you're going to say, oh, Kathleen, you're crazy and you're disabled and you don't, but no, nobody likes her. Anyways, so even though I lived 30 minutes away, she only allowed a 10-minute visit for once a day. So I just sat in the lobby for 10 to 12 hours a day, every day, for the 10 days that he was at Burnaby Hospital. And then she took the time to go to her lawyers and swear a big long affidavit about the fact that I was sitting in the lobby waiting to visit my brother. I brought Paul, on the second visit, I brought Paul a huge coffee table book of movie stars that a neighbor had given me for him. And he grabbed the book from my hand. His eyes had opened and he was focusing, and he grabbed the book from my hand and started turning the pages perfectly and scanning these pictures of movie stars. And I couldn't believe my eyes. I mean, I couldn't believe the miraculous recovery. But I'd been praying for him for 588 days, so maybe that's why. But I posted that note here on Facebook about his recovery and the fact that he grabbed the book from my hand. Then on April 21st, I got a phone call from the Burnaby RCMP, senior member there, saying they were ordered by Ottawa to reopen the investigation into the fraudulent and forged representation agreement, and that he would be following that up with documents. And I thought, oh my God, this is a game changer. Finally, somebody's listening to me. And I went to court the next morning and I told the judge that the government had sent me some documents that would had a bearing on the case, but we didn't have time to get on. So I had to go back. So we didn't appear, and I had to go back to Burnaby Hospital. And I walked in the room, and the evil nun had put Paul in a big room where there were no other patients and where there was a curtain on the door so that the staff couldn't see what she was doing to him. And she had removed, by this point, she knew that the Burnaby RCMP had been ordered by their Ottawa Oversight Agency to reopen the investigation into her fraudulent and forged representation agreement. And I had the documents to prove it. And I could see the look on, I know her so well. I mean, I could see she had, her jaw was set. And she was pissed. And she wasn't going to be effed with. And I knew my brother had to die. He had to die. And when I saw him after I got back from court, the ventilator was removed. She wouldn't let me near his head. He had a big gash on the side of his head that was oozing blood. So I don't know if somebody hit him or, what caused the gash. But she wouldn't look me in the eye, and she said, "Say goodbye to Paul, he's dying." And I thought, he wasn't dying the last time I saw him. Before the Burnaby RCMP said that they were reopening the investigation into her fraudulent and forged representation agreement. She's not used to being messed with. She's used to getting her own way. She's got more money than God. And when I saw Paul, as I said, the ventilator was gone, the catheter was gone, intravenous was gone, and he looked dead. I mean, it didn't look like he was dying. He looked dead. He was lying stiff on the mattress. His hand was unresponsive. It wasn't cold, but it was not at all responsive. His eyes were wide open and unfocused. And he looked, as much as anybody can look dead, he looked dead to me. So I left. And I got an email from her saying that he died. Surprise, surprise. The police reopened the investigation, and he's dead within an hour. He's dead within an hour. He wanted to live. Paul loves life, and he loves me. But he loves life even without me. He loves life. I still talk about him in the present tense. In police investigations, one of the giveaways that somebody knows that a missing person is dead is that they refer. I never refer to Paul in the past tense. I still have all his clothes in the closet. I still have all his puzzles and toys and artwork. But what I believe happened, and I told the coroner this, and I told the College of Physicians and Surgeons, that my sister had ordered the doctor on the ward to kill my brother with a sedative. That he was struggling. He was in a fragile state, But he wanted to recover. He was trying to recover, but his autonomic nervous system couldn't handle a dose of sedative, which is what he was given. So this is what I want to be put on the record, is that my sister ordered the staff to kill him because they took away his ventilator. Why would they do that? The hospital staff wouldn't know that there was all this backstory about the RCMP, the Burnaby RCMP, being ordered to reopen the investigation into the fraudulent and forged representation agreement. And the whole time, the worker, who was the bad actor at L'Arche, was allowed to come and go at will to visit Paul. People he didn't know at all. They brought a bloody dog into his room, but I was allowed a 10-minute visit. So all of this right now is under investigation to the best of my knowledge. But the thing that you can do, and I'm asking you to do, is do everything you can to throw the evil David Eby out on his ass, together with all the other members of the Communist Socialist New Democratic Party. Sign up with the BC Liberals or the BC United Party and the BC Conservative Party. So the non-NDP parties have joined together to fight the BC NDP. Go and help, volunteer, make sure you vote, make sure you're registered to vote, make sure everyone you know that will vote BC Conservative is registered to vote. Offer to be a scrutineer, offer to get out the vote. The one thing those communist socialist asshole NDP know how to do, and I know because I was one for almost my entire life, is we know how to get out the vote. Go door knocking, find out who's going to vote BC Conservative. Go arrange for trips to the voting station. Do whatever you can. Become a scrutineer. Just do whatever you can. Offer to be a candidate. But find out who's the BC Conservative candidate in your riding and do everything that you can. This is a matter of life and death. And I'm telling you, I watched my little brother be murdered before my very eyes. And don't think it couldn't happen to you or your loved one. They had the gall to do it before my very eyes. This is what we're dealing with. So have a wonderful Labor Day tomorrow. Take it easy. I've had a good summer. I took part in the Heart and Stroke Foundation challenge in Paul's honor, and it was the 50 kilometers in August. And I haven't counted my kilometers. I have to go back and do it. I kept track of them, but I haven't counted them. But I'm estimating about 200 kilometers. I did my 10,000 steps a day every single day in August of 2024 for Paul. That was my tribute to Paul. And I managed to do it. I got 17,000 steps in yesterday. So, and I'm going to try and keep on doing the 10,000 steps a day thing. I think it's good. I love you all. Thank you for all your help and support. And I know this sounds like a crazy story, but we're in the most depraved country in the world. We're in an evil, evil country. And it's got the most liberal euthanasia laws. And it's sick. It's sick. So get out. But on October 19th of 2024, we will have an opportunity to throw evil David Eby and his communist socialist asshole BC NDPs out on their ass. And we must do that in honor of Paul and your loved ones. Take care, everybody. And as I said, have a wonderful Labor Day tomorrow.